Yo, Max, thanks for joining tonight, man. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
So
it
do
will
you
be. I'm
think,
excited.
so do you think Dynasty is being played more and more like redraft these days? What do you think? This whole 2 to 3 year window is getting a lot shorter.
Yeah, I think there's like a couple reasons for that. I think the answer is yes, but like we got to realize why that's happening. So I think the first reason is a lot of dynasty leagues fall apart after like 4 or 5 years. So what people are doing is they're playing dynasty for 4 or 5 years, and then 3 people leave the league or 2 people leave the league, and then it's a new person coming in every single
Right.
year, and then all of a sudden the league just falls apart. And that guy who was tanking year one had like seven, first round picks and a bunch of young studs, and like was trying to get Caleb Williams this year or trying to get Trevor Lawrence a couple years ago, whatever it may be. Like those guys
Yep.
don't get to see the like fruit of their work. So like that's super frustrating to like pay the buy-in year after year after year after year to never
Sure.
see your project get finished. So people are like, well, F that. I'm just gonna go and try to win year one and draft Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford and all these guys who are, falling on draft boards because they're not young, and then they just are impatient and do that.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford is definitely he falls so low in drafts, that's for sure. You
Yeah.
find out like, you're just looking at it like, oh, I need a QB4, we can take Matthew Stafford. No.
Yeah.
So how many dynasty leagues do you play in, man?
I'm in three. All of them are super flex. One of them's tight end premium. One's a 10-person league, which is a little bit like I don't love 10 people leagues unless you have a lot of roster spots, which we do,
Right.
thankfully. It's 3 running back, 3 receiver, 2 flexes, like deep bench. So yeah, I play in 3 leagues. I've been in one of them for 3 or 4 years now, and it's going really great.
How much redraft and best ball do you play?
I'm not playing any redraft this year. It just is like a lot of work for me. I don't really enjoy redraft as much anymore, just because when you play Dynasty and Best Ball, like Best Ball is so easy, you just draft 100 teams and never touch them again. And
Yeah,
Dynasty is
right.
like, well, if Saquon Barkley tears his ACL this year, I still have next year. But I don't want to draft, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and have my first round pick go down, and it's just a waste of a year. There's no point in me even checking my lineup because there's nothing after this year. So I don't really enjoy redraft as much anymore. So I'm playing in none this year. But Best Ball, I'll probably draft. I'll probably max out my Best Ball Mania entries and do a
Yeah,
bunch of the
what's
puppy,
what's
and
the max
yeah,
entries? What's the max entries in
I
Best
think
Ball
it's
Mania this year?
150. I think it's 150. I think I've
Yeah,
done like 40 something, but I'll do a
I,
lot more. Yeah.
I saw your TikTok where you're like, all right, I'm gonna win the $3 million Best Ball Mania. You come back here and look at this after I
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
But so what are you noticing in best ball drafts then in terms of value that's falling? And
Yeah.
underdog's half PPR too. And it's funny because wide receivers still seem to get hammered in a half PPR.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, um, I don't know. Like, I get the whole wide receiver thing going early. Like, the thing, I get it because they're just safer and they have more upside than running backs do. But at the same time, though, too, like there are guys like Jamar Chase who's going over Christian McCaffrey, over Tyreek Hill, over Cooper Kupp. Like that makes no sense to me. I can't ever even comprehend why he would ever be going over Cooper Kupp, who averaged 26 fantasy points a game last year in PPR. That is, I don't know what the exact number would be for half PPR, but
Yep.
like he's going too high. A guy like Austin Eckler, who's getting the majority of his points from receptions, going as like the RB2 makes not a lot of sense to me. And I think the reason that a lot of the ADP is kind of messed up for best ball, specifically on underdog, is because people don't know it's half PPR. You see a lot of people who
You
go
think
and
you
join.
think that's part of
Yeah,
it? They just
yeah,
assume it's PPR. Yeah,
yeah. I
because
think they, yeah,
FanDuel's
yeah,
PPR, right?
yeah,
DraftKings is half
yep,
PPR. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I think a lot of people who are like new to underdog doing these best ball mania drafts are probably doing the drafts because they saw, maybe their like favorite creator do a best ball draft, and they're like, oh, I'll just join that. And they assume it's PPR because that's what most leagues are. But I don't know, like Eckler's going way too high. I think AJ Brown's getting drafted at his ceiling. I think we probably just saw the best of AJ Brown. Um, I even think Saquon Barkley going in the middle of the second round is a little bit crazy for me, just with how they used him at the end of last year. Over the last like 6 or 7 weeks, he was only averaging 50 rushing yards a game. Like they didn't really use him. In both their playoff games, he had 9 carries. Like
Yeah, he
they,
was he was RB3 early on, and then
hmm
he wasn't getting any work. You
hmm
also aren't a Brees Hall fan, right? Is it because just coming
no.
off the ACL, it just doesn't line up?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we look at recent history, like Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, Saquon Barkley, the three most recent running backs who are all immensely talented, none of them have worked out a year after the ACL. Like it just doesn't happen. And on top of that, the offensive line isn't good. Like that's the only weak part of this Jets team is the offensive line is subpar. So we look at that, and then also you see all these rumors about Dalvin Cook being entertained in New York, and it's like, well, clearly they think they need somebody else. So if the team
Don't they
thinks they
have
need somebody
enough?
else, yeah,
Don't they have
yeah,
enough? I mean, Michael
yeah,
Carter, what Zonovan Knight, he seemed
yeah,
like he was pretty decent or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
it gets gross with these deep running
Mhm.
backfields.
Yeah, I like Michael Carter coming out of UNC too. Like he was one of my guys who I actually like bought a lot of in Dynasty before they drafted Brees Hall like 2 years ago or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah, he's like a little bowling ball. You got to appreciate the hustle. Good stuff, man. So I watch a lot of your TikToks, and you it is funny because some people say you're divisive, like in the comments and stuff, and it's like what? Like it's because you're a TikTok troll that you're even saying that. But you seem to not like Justin Fields. Talk to me
yeah,
about Justin Fields.
yeah. Well, I think for fantasy football, he'll probably be great again. I think it's like it's hard when you're going to be the starter for the entire season. There's no way they bench you at any point at this point. You're going to run for 600-700 yards, probably 8 rushing touchdowns, and you're going to be a good fantasy quarterback just for that alone. So fantasy, like I'm fine with Justin Fields. I think he'll actually be pretty good. But for like real life football, I get a lot of smack because I really don't think he's that great of a quarterback. I mean, um, I'm a stats guy over everything. Like I think film
Yeah.
matters. I do think film matters. I think traits matter. Like I think those things do matter. But like film and traits are only two things to like become stats. Like if you look at a guy who has really great film, but he's not putting up good stats, okay, there's an issue with the team, so he can get good stats and win the game for us. Like it's all numerical. So when you look at Justin Fields stats, it's horrid. Like truthfully, it's just horrid. Like he had 3 good games last season. They were really good games, 3 in a row. He played really well.
Yeah.
The rest of the year wasn't that impressive. Like over the last 2 seasons, he's been the most inaccurate quarterback in football outside of Zach Wilson. I don't know how you can defend a guy like that. Holds onto the ball way too long. Like his offensive line is a little underrated in my opinion. But I get he has no weapons, and I get Bears fans are happy with DJ Moore. But a big thing that I said that I think people aren't really comprehending is that like DJ Moore isn't this incredible route runner who will be wide open every play, which is the only thing we've seen Justin Fields do well with, which was in college with Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, that kind of crowd.
He had some help,
Um,
right?
yeah, and like that's not what DJ Moore is. DJ Moore is like a fitted into a tight window. He's going to go downfield. He's like a yards after the catch kind of guy. So I don't know. I don't think it'll work out. But if I'm wrong, it's gonna be rough for me on TikTok for sure.
TikTok, man. TikTok is brutal. It is so brutal. It's funny because I could always tell, like in the YouTube comments, who found us from TikTok. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that screams TikTok. No, but
You think so? That's funny. I'm always intrigued to hear like the different like I'm only used to TikTok, you know, because I don't really do a lot of stuff on YouTube or Twitter or anything else. So like I'm used to this. This is just like normal for me. But I know people who come from other platforms are like, dang, this is kind of like way different pace of play
oh
almost.
yeah, oh yeah. And Instagram is like roses compared to frickin' TikTok. It's wild. It's wild how different it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take a trade from our crowd here. We have 98 eyeballs in here joining
Okay.
us on a Thursday. Everybody's on the way to the expo or watching four stringers at this point. But let's put this up here. So Wayne Mackey, this is a 10-team single QB PPR start 9. So it's start 10 next year. So when we say start 9, usually we go, well, I guess in this case, 1 QB, it's a QB, what, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a couple flexes, usually a kicker and a defense.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's shallow. So Mahomes, Chubb, Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins, Swift, Cup, Tyreek, T, DJ Moore, Keenan, Kittle, Kincaid, Freiermuth, Komet. He's got a 24 first, 3 seconds, and a couple firsts in 25. Defending champ. Any moves you recommend? Best show. Look at
Yeah.
this team, man. This is a pay to brag. If I had super chats on, we'd be getting a $5 super chat because they know to pay to brag. So what do you
Yeah.
think here? Looking at this squad, what do you say here?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great squad. We don't need to tell him that. He already knows this. Like there isn't really like a weak spot, right? Like the running backs are Chubb, Jacobs, Dobbins, Swift. Like maybe you'd love to have one young, like actually young guy, a rookie or a second year player in there. And then the receivers are loaded. If I were you, I would probably just go and win this year, go and win next year, and just get the buy-in money, consistently every year. I mean, you say you have your first, you didn't lose any picks. I don't know how you got a squad like this without giving up your picks, but yeah, I mean, you have Kittle too. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't see any moves, like any glaring moves. Maybe go get a young running back. I don't know. I like Jahmyr Gibbs, but obviously this is a 10 out of 10 team. Like we don't need to tell him that. He already knows this.
Yeah, definitely a pay to brag, but Yeah, because I look at it and it's like, could we stand to get a little bit younger? But then you see he has his 24 first, 3 seconds, and a couple 25s. And you're like, Cup, Tyreek, Keenan, like, why? Like you said, get the ship. He's got T to offset the wide receiver age a bit. I don't know. Take down the championship. Worry about it. Worry about it next year. Let's go to another one here. So this is from Luke. It's a 12-team Superflex start 9. Dak and 2 seconds or Fields. So we're assuming 2024 seconds. What do you think, man? Well, what do you think is the gap between Dak and Fields for you? Let's say that.
Well, every we did a startup this year in a league that I'm in. That's a 12-team Superflex, and Fields went before Dak. I think according to every consensus opinion I see, Fields is worth more than Dak in Superflex. So I don't think 2 seconds is really anything, honestly. I get people really love second round picks. I get that. But my philosophy of Dynasty is if I'm in a 12-team league, let's say these 2 seconds are mid seconds just for the sake of conversation,
right.
You're getting somebody who's outside the top 15 player in that class. It's very rare that you are ever going to turn that player into somebody who is even a starter for your team. That's just the sad reality. So 2 seconds is just that extra fluff you're giving somebody that doesn't actually matter. So I would take the Field side if you're taking a consensus view of this. I don't like Field, so I want nothing to do with him, so I wouldn't do it. But the consensus view of this would be the Field side is winning by a lot.
Yeah, in terms of value. Yeah, like you said, the seconds in a start 9. So we normally talk super flex, but a start 9 being very shallow. So it's a QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, tight end, flex, and a super flex. So the 2 seconds, like you said, the reality that they're going to hit and be a starter on your team when you're talking about a start 9 is so low to where it is fluff. Now, we do play in a lot of leagues where it's start 11, start 12. So those second round picks do have some value, but yes, in this case right here, it's field side for market value alone, especially in a 4-point passing touchdown. That's an immediate smash. Shane asks, Clay, why aren't you here? So Max, Shane is one of my co-hosts. He's the guy on the left, the little bit rough guy from Philly. he's in Canton right now at the Expo. I'm gonna be going there tomorrow. We are staying. I think my wife watches my streams these days now. We are staying in this high school, which has been turned into an Airbnb, and it's going to be a clown show. But Melissa, if you're listening, I'm going to be kind of behave myself. Okay, let's move on to another question. We're going to pull up one more trade here, and then I'm going to come up with an NFL question. So Drew Casey. This one's kind of backwards. So it's an 8-team start 12 Superflex PPR contender 23 champ. Give Jonathan Taylor, get Connor, and a 24 first. So top 3. So in Superflex, obviously we know the big 4. So Caleb, May, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Bowers, I guess is what we think. So what do you think about this trade, man?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's an 18, but you're starting 12, so it's almost offsets that it's a lower league size.
Right.
It's tough because we don't know the future of Jonathan Taylor, and I actually like James Conner enough for this year. I think he'll be a decent low end RB2, maybe mid tier RB2. But if the 24 first is a guaranteed top 3 pick, I think you just take that and run. I mean, there's not a single world out there where Drake May, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. are worth less than Jonathan Taylor straight up, probably at that point. Yeah,
exactly.
But the only thing you need to consider, though, because you're saying it's top 3, something that people forget about a lot is when you're giving a team that is top 3 Jonathan Taylor, they could become a not top 3 team. So if it's
that person's first.
Yeah. If it is that person's first. Yeah. So you gotta consider that. But I would probably just take that. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to make sense, especially with running backs. You know how it is with injuries and stuff. When you're getting offered a top 3, we're assuming Drew Casey's correct, thinking it's top 3 at worst. I mean, you just have to take it. Like you said, I mean, that was well said. Next year, that person's going to be worth more. That player's going to be worth more than Jonathan Taylor right off the bat.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
good stuff there. All right, Drew. So let me ask you this: thoughts on the Dynasty market? It seems to have cooled a bit for him, But what are your thoughts on Drake London? He's valued in the community pretty highly. You
Yeah.
can't get him for a single first. So what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I'm not high on Drake London. I wasn't high on him kind of college either. Like I thought Jameson Williams, Garrett Wilson were easily better. Going eighth overall, like the whole draft capital thing does make me feel okay that they really, like him a lot. But the sad reality is he will never be a better player than Kyle Pitts ever. He like
Yeah.
I look at that offense and I go, Drake London's more of a tight end than Kyle Pitts is, and Kyle Pitts is more of a receiver than Drake London is.
Yeah.
And I think like when it comes to Drake London, I don't really quite understand the hype. He's going to be on an offense that ran the ball 36 times per game last year with Desmond Ridder. They draft Bijan Robinson, the best prospect since Saquon at running back, eighth overall, when they have so many other needs. Their quarterback is horrible. Like it doesn't make any sense for me. Like he won't have potential to be a even 1,100, 1,000 yard receiver for a while. Like it'll be at least until they get a new quarterback, and then it'll be okay. Well, does Kyle Pitts the number one or is it him? It's going to be a while, and I think this could be like a worse version of Terry McLaurin, where every year they're like, oh,
Yeah.
he's really talented, he's going to produce this year, but the quarterback situation is just never going to be good, and the situation in general won't be good. So I would sell Drake London as value right now. I think he's like wide receiver 13 on Fantasy Pros and Dynasty, which is ridiculous. He's over DK Metcalf. I mean, give me a break. I'm not in on Drake London.
DK Metcalf over London all day for you, huh?
Not even close. Yeah. I mean,
Not
Tyler
even
Lockett
close.
has an out in his contract after this season. So yeah, they're probably just going to cut him if JSN is any way halfway decent. So
Yeah. Well, let's stay on that note real quick. JSN, what are your thoughts on him? Obviously, there's tons of buzz around him these days. How do you think he's going to be? I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And honestly, I loved the landing spot because it made him attainable in rookie drafts, with the 106 spot or what have you. So I liked it because, yeah, you can see Lockett, the writing on the wall. But go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, for me this year, I don't know if he's my wide receiver 15 or 16, but I have him very high for this year as a rookie. Like I said, like Tyler Lockett has an out in his contract. From what I've heard from training camp so far out of Seattle, like it seems like Geno Smith and him already have a great connection. If you look at his actual combine, like his 40 wasn't flashy, which is what like the casual fan will look at. I think you're in like a 4.57, but all of his like agility drills, like his 3-cone and all that, were elite. And that's exactly what you want to see out of like a really good route runner who will probably play in the slot. Like his 3-cone, all those like acceleration, like agility drills were just as good, if not better, than Cooper Kupp's combine. And obviously Cooper Kupp was a great route runner. So I think he landed a great spot. I think Lockett will be gone for this season. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if like in 2 years down the road, like he's the number one over DK. I really wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you break the receiving records at Ohio State, and you go for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Rose Bowl. And I mean, he was the best receiver on a team.
He was
that
dude on that team.
He's the best receiver on a team with Gary Wilson and Chris Olave. Like how can you not love a guy like that? And yeah, so I'm all in on JSN for sure.
So what about Geno Smith though? Because yeah, what are your thoughts on Geno Smith? Is he going to be able to hold up JSN as the number one in Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, I think Geno was great last year. Like every statistical measure, like if we would have put like 2 blank quarterbacks, like next to each other, and it was just their stats of like the year, like he would be stacking up against really anybody outside of Mahomes last year. So, I mean, he was super efficient. Like he was great. He really was great. Now, the only concerning thing is like when you have your first good season at like 30 or 32, whatever he is. Yeah. Like it's just, you're really old to be doing that. So it's like, I don't know if I can buy into him for like 5 years down the line. But I think if he shows us this year that he can play even at 90% of what he did last year,
he's clearly competent.
Yeah. Then he'll be a starter for 5 more years. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So as long as it wasn't like just some random fluke season that just like will never happen again, if he can even be 90% of it, I think then JSN and DK are in great hands.
And good for him too, man. Like it's so good to see stories like that where someone comes out of, they've been grinding and then boom, have a great season and get a contract. Very cool. So we're going to take a trade from Robert. 12 teams start 10 Superflex. Get Terry McLaurin and a 25-second. He's calling it mid. Give Romeo Dubs and Cole Kmet.
Yeah, I mean, just obviously, you obviously take that.
Yeah, get you some scary Terry there. I'm a for better or worse, I'm a Commanders fan, by the way. So yeah, you can feel sorry for me at any point in time here. What are your thoughts on Sam Howell, Max?
I hated him coming out of college. I thought he was extremely mid. Yeah, I thought he got carried by Josh Downs actually. I mean, he looked good in that game versus Dallas, I guess, but we'll see. I mean, I think he has like the physical tools, to be like an all right quarterback, but
Yeah.
we'll see if he can put it together. We don't really have much on him yet in the NFL.
I see your dog back there just raise his or her head. What kind of dog is that?
He's a black lab mix. His name's Koa.
Nice. It looks a lot like my dog actually, who just she just hurt herself jumping down from the
Oh
bed today.
gosh.
Since my wife is out of town, she gets to be on the bed. Okay. So Z Trap has a question here. Thank you. 12 team start 10 Superflex PPR sent CD for London and a 25 first.
Oh, I mean the CD Lamb side by a mile, by a
Yeah.
lot, by a significant amount.
It would have to, for me, it would have to be a 24 if I'm even considering it.
I wouldn't
And
even consider that. Yeah.
it would have to, you wouldn't even do that if it's London and 24 first. What else
Oh
would you need
no.
on top?
Oh man. I mean, it's tough because like you don't want
Just
to
a
ask for
lot. You want to
yeah,
make it hurt. It's going to have to be a
yeah,
big offer.
yeah. I wouldn't trade CD Lamb for Drake London. First off, yeah, because what you're hoping out of any first round pick ever is that you can get a player like CD Lamb. So why trade away a player like CD Lamb? And you're getting a toss up for that pick, and then you're getting a guy who's not that great in Drake London, in my opinion. But
So what we always preach and practice, we're in the trenches with our subs, is process over players. So we, as opposed to looking at a player name, we're more looking at the process of it. So we are more than happy to tier off of let's just use Drake London for an example here. Would you trade Drake London for DJ Moore in a second? I don't
yeah, I
know.
probably would.
Maybe
Yeah, I
that's a
probably
little
would.
bit too low of a tier down process trade for us, but basically we are willing to get that extra leverage, that extra piece on top, while not losing too many points per game. So just a heads up that's kind of our background here. Oh wait, Shank and Shig Barbecue's got an inbox offer, so it's sitting in his inbox. We need to help him make a decision here. So 12 teams, start 11, Superflex, PPR, no tight end premium. Trade Danny Dimes, the 206, and a 24 first for Lamar and a 2023 fourth.
You give your thoughts first. Let me read through this again.
Yeah. So, I'd want to know Shank and Shig. Can you even give like a general idea as to whether that's mid, late, or early? I know it's so hard to tell in 2024, but if it's like, you think it's going to be mid, that's what we're going with for now. I don't know, man. It's a start 11. The 206 does have some value. And the 24 first. I'm very
Yeah, I
bullish
don't
on
know.
Lamar. I'm very bullish on Lamar, man. I think I'm going Lamar side. I think
Yeah,
I'm
I
going
think
Lamar side. How about you?
yeah, I think it's like Lamar side by a wide margin. I don't even think it's even close. I mean, like that first round pick would have to be like Drake May for it to be the other side to
Like
win.
top, yeah, like
It'd
top
have to be like
3 or
top
4.
three. Yeah, it'd
Yeah,
have to be like that. Even if it was like Brock Bowers, because it says 0 TP. Is that no tight end premium? Is that what that means essentially?
correct. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like since it's not tight end premium, like Brock Bowers a lot of value. Don't get me wrong, but like if it was Brock Bowers, Danny Dimes, and the 206, I would still take Lamar. So yeah, I mean, I would take Lamar there like pretty easily. Daniel Dimes is
Yeah.
not a guy that I really believe in all that much. He had one good fantasy season with throwing dump offs to Saquon all year. I don't know why we're buying into that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because everybody is pretty bullish on Danny Dimes now. Like he's a top 12 quarterback. He's being drafted as such. Obviously, he's better in a 4 point per passing touchdown than a 6. But where are you at with him?
I don't know. I mean, I really thought last year that like the only reason they were good was because of Saquon. The first 10 weeks when he was the RB3, they were 7-3. He was getting, I think, 18 or 19 carries a
He
game,
was getting
averaging
a
like
lot of
100 rushing.
work.
Yeah. Yeah. He was really that guy. And he was crushing. And then from that point forward, they stopped using him and they started losing games. They kind of fell apart from that point forward. Daniel Dimes, his number one weapon this year is Darren Waller, who is the Jeremy Lin of the NFL. and had one good season and got a contract and has been horrible since and can't stay healthy. I don't see why we believe in him when Daniel Jones was horrible for 3 seasons in a row. I don't know why he's being drafted there.
Yeah. And Shank and Shig did throw up. I already have Hurts and Love at QB. It's his original first. He's a contender. So that was going to be a late 24 first too.
Oh, not even close. Yeah.
Smash makes it even more of a smash. Okay. So let's let me ask you this question, because you are more of a whatever, you cover players, players. We always talk process, like I said. Who are the most overvalued wide receivers in Dynasty right now?
Oh, I'll make this easy. I'll just go to Dynasty wide receiver rankings on Fantasy Pro. And
yeah, you could just go down the list.
Yeah, I'll just go on the list here. I mean, Stephon Diggs at 10 is kind of crazy to me, I think.
You think that's high?
I think that's high. I really do. Because, I mean, he's going to be 30 years old, I think, in October or November. So it's his 30-year-old receiver season. Now, if you look at a guy like Devontae Smith, who's 24, who's below him in the rankings, or T. Higgins, who's 24, or DK, who's 25, or Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's 21, those guys will have probably 6 to 8 years of production for you, right? Left on their on their plate. But Diggs is going to give you at most 4 more years, at most. So even if he outproduces them these next 4 years, over the long term, you are getting more points out of those other guys. And surely it's not that simple, right? Like, you want to have the player who produces like 20 point per game seasons over a guy who gets you 12.
Keep them for 8 years or whatever.
Yeah, obviously. But a guy like Diggs who's 30, a guy like him who's a route runner, kind of similar to like a Keenan Allen kind of player, a lot of them have hamstring issues later in their career. Like, that's something that they deal with a lot. So I would be like very surprised if Diggs is one of those guys who at his 32-year-old season finishes top 10 in PPR. Like, I would be very surprised. So I think Diggs is a guy who's super overrated. I see Deebo Samuel at wide receiver 22, which is laughable. I mean, I don't know who would take.
Is he going to get dual? Is he going to get dual eligibility this year? Like, has there been any talk about that? Like,
maybe
he's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. It's like he already got hurt before he started playing running back. He's an atomic cell in Dynasty for us always. I think I have one share out of the 24, 27 leagues I'm in. I have one, and it's a Dynasty best ball. That's like literally my only Debo exposure. I've lost a lot of points, like on Debo in the past, but whatever. This is one of those players,
Yeah, no, that's totally valid.
So that's
is there anybody that like screams at you as overvalued though that I didn't mention?
So I gotta pull up. You were looking at Fantasy Pros?
Yeah, I can. Is there a chat in here? Yeah, there's a private chat. I'll just link it there. That's the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, that'll help me out too. I was
that's kind of like the consensus that I feel like the most people look at. So that's kind of what I look at whenever I judge consensus values.
I don't know, man, because when I Shane on our last stream, he's like, I'm sorry my voice is so high there for a second. I'll apologize for mine. But it's funny because I look at this in tears. I can't even look at players anymore as if they are overvalued or undervalued like that. I look at the tiers and I see like, okay, can I trade this player for this player and get something on top? My co-host Shane and Scott Connor, they have made me look at Dynasty in a completely different way. But I guess with the whole short window with Dynasty now, I've had a couple startups and I went like, let's get some hammers, what we call it. Like I took Derrick Henry. So I look at this list here of wide receivers, Stephon Diggs being that low, Cooper Kupp that low. I get it. They don't have resale value, but they didn't have resale value already. So why don't you just take their points for a couple years, which is going to be a lot of fantasy points, and just go off of that? I don't know.
Yeah, you could do that.
It's tough.
You could do that. I mean, I think like for certain strategies, you'd rather have a Diggs and Cooper Kupp over like a Devontae Smith, T. Higgins for sure. It all depends on what you're trying to do with your team.
Right.
I try to think in like raw value, but like there are plenty of strategies where like I would rather have a Cooper Kupp over a T. Higgins just because I'm trying to win a ring, right? And you obviously want the guy who's going to produce for you now. But there's 1,000 different strategies to execute in Dynasty, I think. But by far, the worst strategy is to not have a strategy and then just kind of go out there randomly.
Yeah. So let's go to this one right here. So 12 teams, start 9, 1 QB, shitter league.
That's funny.
Send Goff, Pierce 2 seconds and a third for a 24 first, and Tannehill probably late. Okay, am I reading this correctly? So Alec Pierce is obviously the second one, right? So
Yeah.
sent Goff, Alec Pierce 2 seconds and a third for a 24 first and Tannehill. The 24 first is probably late. What am I missing here? Are 24 first still worth getting in 1 QB leagues, even if projected mid to late? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird trade. It's like very odd. I'm like, because like at first I read it
Yeah.
as Damian Pierce. And I was like, okay, this is like makes a little more sense. But now you say Alec, it
Right.
actually does make way more sense. I don't know. I think like Goff and Alec Pierce in the 2 seconds are like, to me, like dead, not worth anything assets. Kind of like we were talking about earlier with second round picks, and you're getting a first round pick. So I'd just rather have that. But I don't know. I mean,
It is an
what you're kind of,
interesting trade.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, in 1 QB leagues, though, if they're projected late, it's going to be just trash. It's going to be just, luck of the draw. It's a total dart throw. So that would be,
Yeah,
I mean, whatever. I think for me, what it would come down to is how valuable are first round picks in your league. Is that going to be a tradable asset, or are you going to have to stick and pick with that pick if it ends up being even mid or late? So
yeah,
what the
yeah.
value is on that 24 first?
He said shitter league, so I'm kind of assuming that they don't really understand the value of a first, especially if that's an offer, right?
Shitter league. That means they definitely don't know the value of a first, if that's the name of it. Huh? All right, so let's go to another question here, and then I'll find something else. Okay. 12 team start 10 superflex PPR. Send T for Deontay Johnson and a mid 24 first. Should I try to get more? Currently asking for AJ Dillon to be included in the package.
I think this is like by far the most even trade I've seen yet. I think it's like very, very even on value because you said mid first.
Yeah.
I'd love like and we can't really get it through like the chat. I'd love like a actual look at the guy's team in the league to really understand. Because like if you say it's mid, but like it's probably gonna be like the 107, 108, 109 instead of like the 104, 105, 106,
Sure.
107. Like I'd rather know that. But I think like either way, I think the package side wins. I'm not a huge T Higgins guy personally. Like I think he's gonna be like the same exact player every year, like 8
High
touchdowns,
floor. High
1100
floor, but
yards. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think Deontay Johnson's already had a top 10 finished season. So it's like I wouldn't be surprised if he picks it up late, these next couple years in his career. Um, but it depends on your strategy, though. I think it's like very even, though, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. This is like one of those classic process trades for us where probably go with the Deontay Johnson side. Go with the 2 for 1 there. Just because too, like a 24 first, it is what, August 10th as of this recording. You've got that as a piece to be able to use all season.
Hmm.
If you end up being good, you can buy something. Okay, hold on. I had another question here that I was gonna pop up. Um, if
Picks always increase in value in two. So like
Yeah.
you're guaranteed to get at least one asset in that trade that will increase in value, which is always a good thing to do.
Okay, I am just finishing this out because I thought I had selected it. Okay, so I asked everybody this question, Max. So if I were to hop into your whip, what song do I hear?
You're off in my whip. What song do I hear? Um, oh, that's a good question. I think if you hop into my whip recently, I think you probably hear "Run to the Father" by Cody Carnes. That's
Okay,
probably my favorite song right now.
good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I ask everybody that question, like literally. I've got this thing. I don't listen to any Dynasty podcasts anymore. I have the pleasure of listening to my co-hosts multiple times a week, so that's enough for me. So I'm on
Yeah,
this big music kick, trying everything out. I-
that's cool.
I'm an old school hip hop guy myself, but I am down for whatever. All right, so let's go to another trade. Then I'm going to come up with a different type of question. Dynasty 12 team superflex PPR start 10. QB room is Joe Burrow, T Law, Deshaun Watson, Bryce Young. Too many QB hammers. Should I look to trade one if I'm weak at tight end? So how would you play this, Max? So it's a 12 team superflex, and you've got Joe Burrow, T Law, Deshaun Watson, Bryce Young. Now, Scott is one of our co-hosts, and he likes to he likes to hoard quarterbacks, especially if they're on the more elite level, just to play keep away. But what would you do with this?
It's tough because what you can do at a situation like this that can really screw you over is you can have all the quarterbacks and then everyone realizes that you have too many quarterbacks and you need to trade them, and then all of a sudden you're actually lowering the quarterback market because everyone else in your league can hold you hostage because you can't start Deshaun Watson and Bryce Young. They're going to sit on your bench and
Yeah,
rot. So they know they can hold you hostage. So you want to avoid that. I think always the goal should always be to win the league at some point, whether it's this year, next year, year after that. And I think with Joe Burrow, T. Law, and Bryce Young, I think that should be the three that you keep. I think you have Deshaun Watson have a good couple games. He looks like his old self, and you trade him to a team that needs a quarterback. Somebody will tear an ACL, tear an Achilles, have a shoulder injury, break a hand, Dak Prescott kind of thing a couple years ago. Like
yeah,
a quarterback will go down. When they do, you just fleece that guy for everything he has for Deshaun Watson after he has a good game, and then you build other assets that you have on your team. Because there's no way you can have Joe Burrow, T. Law, Deshaun Watson, Bryce Young, and have adequate assets everywhere else. It's impossible unless you're just
yeah.
playing with a bunch of idiots. So, whatever your weakness is, you need to address that with Deshaun Watson, and then just keep the other three.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have too, because when you have four quarterbacks like this, you can afford to trade one away in a super flex without getting a QB in return. Because normally you have to have a QB coming back in that trade, but you have the flexibility, but make it hurt. Make it
Yeah.
hurt because you have the leverage. Okay, what was I going to ask you? So, what are your thoughts on? Oh yeah, I was watching him earlier, and I've admitted in the past that I can be kind of a gut feel kind of guy sometimes, even though I say that I'm a process guy. I've got a gut feel that CJ Stroud isn't going to be good. And I've had that for a while, but what is your what is your take? He
It's
screams
tough.
bust to me. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
It's tough with Ohio State quarterbacks, man. I mean, they're playing at a college that they're going to have elite world class receivers that will every year there'll be a Ohio State receiver drafted top 10. It'll happen every year. You're going to play
Yep.
with that.
Yep.
You're going to have all the time in the world to throw because you're going to have an elite offensive line. All of them are first round picks. And in half of your games, you're playing against teams that are so inferior to you that it's almost like you're playing against a practice squad, really, is what it is.
Yep.
So it's tough because those quarterbacks, more times than not, don't really have to like battle. But one thing we saw out of CJ Stroud is battle against Georgia. Like we really saw him
Oh,
do
that's
that.
awesome.
That was an NFL defense for sure. Now, granted, he's on an NFL offense, right? So it's like it kind of
Yeah.
offsets. It's kind of like a normal NFL game when you're playing against a bunch of defensive players that are in the NFL. But what I will say about CJ Stroud is like it is very concerning his Wonderlic test or whatever he scored in the 18th percentile. That's
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
very
Do you
concerning.
take that? Do you take that into account? Do you think that had some juice behind it? That test?
I do, but I would take it. I would take it with more weight if it wasn't only an 8-year sample size of quarterbacks taking that test, or whatever it is. Obviously today he threw 4 passes, had a 17 passer rating and 1 interception. He didn't look that good, but it's
Yep.
preseason. Like, I'm kind of neutral on CJ Stroud. Like, the Texans just don't have the best history of drafting. I mean, last year they took
Yep.
Kenyon Green, who was horrible for them, and uh, Derek Stingley was not good either. It's like they just haven't been good. Their process of drafting has not been good. So it's tough when it comes to that as of late. But I think he has all the physical tools to be great. Like I thought he
Yeah.
honestly showed me glimpses of like current Dak Prescott when he was at Georgia. It's kind of what
Yeah.
he reminded
Yeah.
me of. Yeah.
No, for sure, for sure. He was such a gamer in that game too. You were just rooting for him. No,
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
think
I
if
don't know.
yeah.
I've still got a couple shares of him on my teams just in case. I always have to diversify against my gut.
Yeah.
What do you think about Bryce Young?
That's somebody that I think is like almost like a sure hit prospect. The only thing that I think
Bullish on
could
him.
Yeah, the only thing that could like stand in the way is obviously his size. Like it could be like a Tua Kyler Murray kind of thing where like they're always going to be kind of battling injuries in a way.
Yeah.
But I think anybody with any sort of football knowledge whatsoever can look at Bryce Young and go, oh, this guy is like an elite thrower of the football. He is that guy. Like he torched really good college secondaries.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think he'll be great in Carolina. I don't think he'll have like a great season for a while though. Like I think he'll be a pretty mediocre quarterback for his first 2 seasons, and then I think I could see them going out and getting him like an elite receiver.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that they could go get like a T Higgins if T Higgins doesn't get paid
Yeah.
from Cincy because they probably can't afford him. Or even getting like a Marvin Harrison next year would be really good for them if they can figure out a way to make that happen, even though they traded all their assets. But like I
Yeah.
think I think he'll be good. I think he's a dynasty buy after this year because he's super valued right now, but he's not going to be super as much valued after this year because he's not going to play that great because the situation sucks. And then you go get him. He's one of those guys, in my opinion.
Yeah. So sticking on that team, so 12 team Superflex, ETN or Miles Sanders and a 24 first. Because when you were talking about Bryce Young not having, he may have a meh season this year. That's what worries me about Miles is them just not being in the red zone a ton. But what do you think about this trade right here? ETN or Miles Sanders and a 24 first? We'll call it mid.
Yeah, if we're gonna call it mid, how I view this draft class coming up is that there's 8 players that I'd feel really good about getting. Obviously, the 2 quarterbacks, the 2 elite receivers from Ohio State, Brock Bowers. That's 5 guys, and then you have really 3 running backs that, to me, I think could have a pretty big role on NFL offenses right away. That's obviously Rocket Sanders, Trevion Henderson, who's probably the RB1 in the class, and then Braylon Allen, who's just like a physical freak, right? So you have those 3 guys who are really solid prospects. Now, obviously, one of them will probably fall off, kind of how like what was his name? Evans from
Yeah,
Ole
Zach
Miss.
Evans.
Kind of how Zach
Yeah.
Evans kind of fell off last year, and Tank Bigsby didn't, and those kind of
Right.
guys didn't really have a lot of hype because they didn't really play that great. But I think if it's a mid first, like you'll end up with one of those running backs. You'll have those 5 guys go first, right? The Abuka, Harrison, Bowers, 2
Yeah,
quarterbacks,
right.
and you'll get either the RB2 or RB1 in the class, and that guy will probably be worth more than Travis Etienne in a year from now, unless Etienne has a crazy year. But this is again one of those trades that I think is like very even.
Yeah. And we'll assume Sean didn't put in how many starters. We'll assume start 10. Yeah, that one's close. I would go Miles in the 24 first, but that's just how we treat running backs. But yeah, I also just don't know what to think of ETN. I really don't, because I also I like Tank as well. I don't know.
Yeah, Tank Bigsby was someone who I liked a lot, like going into last college
Yeah,
football
like 2 years
season.
ago.
Yeah, 2
Exactly.
years ago. Yeah, I mean that class looked way better than it ended up being
Sean
for the NFL draft.
Tucker. Oh, it looked like it was going to be so much better. Everybody
Yeah, Sean
was
Tucker too. Yeah,
everybody was loving some 23 first, and we were part of that 23 first train. That's for damn sure. Luckily, we didn't have tons of juice until recently. No.
yeah.
Will Levis. Will Levis. We don't hear his name very often, but it's funny. I've been getting little Will Levis knocks on the door recently. Couple trade offers where people are trying to get my Will Levis. What do you think?
Um.
Do you think when do you think he's going to play this
Yeah.
season?
Will he play this season? I don't know. I mean, it's tough, dude, because I've seen Ryan Tannehill collapse and play like the worst quarterback in football. And now that they
Yeah.
took him with the essentially the 30 something pick, it was the first or second pick in the second round. I forget exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Now that they've used a decent amount of capital on him, like he could be their quarterback in the future. He has really good physical tools. Like he could be a good quarterback. I don't know. It's just tough. Like all it takes for Tannehill to get benched for him for one game is Tannehill throwing like 3 picks and a half, which
Yeah.
is totally
Yeah.
possible. I don't know, man.
Why
Like
did D Hop go there?
because no
He
one else
wanted to
wanted him
win.
for
He
the
wanted
money.
to win. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no one else wanted him for the money. That's why. I mean, he looked at it and he goes, "Oh, if I want to play for the Chiefs or the Bills, I'll need to take a $10 million pay cut." Well, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that shit. So he's like, "I'm gonna go and get all the money I possibly want on a team like the Patriots or the Titans who suck, and then I'll just retire." That's the conclusion I think he came to.
Yeah, when that when that trade went down, it was interesting because everybody was some people liked it. I thought it was a gross landing spot in terms of dynasty value for
Oh
him
yeah, me
personally.
too.
But then everybody was so all about what was it, selling Traylon Burks, and then it was switching to buying him. Like Traylon Burks' market went crazy too, and I,
hmm
I don't know. I don't know. Definitely a gross landing spot there though. Let's move on to oh yeah, here's Shane had something. Is Tank Dell a buy high now? What are your
My
thoughts on Tank
buddy,
Dell? He looked good on that
yeah,
one play that I saw anyway today.
I just got a text from my buddy like literally 5 minutes ago that said like Tank Dell eating. So I'm not sure, is he having a great game right now? He probably is, right?
I saw one play. I wasn't watching it ISPL, but yeah, he must be doing shit. And he's had a little bit of buzz
Yeah,
going into today too. So
yeah. I mean, I loved Tank Dell. He was like my wide
did
receiver
you?
4
Yeah.
or 3 in the class. I think he's super talented. The only thing is that his size is a huge issue. It's just whether or not he'll actually. Oh wow, that was a crazy play. I see the one you're just talking about that he caught. That was
Yeah.
the touchdown. Yeah, that's actually insane. I just saw that right now. I don't know. He's super talented, I think, but like, will his size ever work out in the NFL? I don't know, honestly.
He would be an outlier for sure. So thank you for the question, Shane. Shane is officially at the shit house, is what we're calling it this weekend. Did I tell you how it's how it's an abandoned high school that's now an
Oh,
Airbnb?
it's an Airbnb. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's 18 rooms, 18 room abandoned high school. It's bizarre. It's gonna be like we're in high school again. All right, Chris Fadada has a question. 10 team, 2 QB, start 10, no tight end premium PPR. I have the luxury of having Kelsey and Andrews. Is it worth starting Andrews at flex over Kirk / JSN?
They're pretty similar, like point per game
Yeah,
players.
in terms of point per game, right? It's probably similar. Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
go
that would
trade Mark Andrews and Christian Kirk for an elite player. Just go do that and start them in your flex.
yeah, or get Lamar on your team. Like stack it up somehow. But yeah, at least you are hoarding the only two difference making tight ends right now. I think Kyle Pitts is going to smash. I have to bet on that talent and that athleticism. But yeah, in the
Yeah, I
meantime
agree.
though, Kelsey and Andrews, just I'd be holding them. I'd look to get Mahomes or Lamar to tie with them to make it an easy flex. Okay, he said he does have Lamar currently. Okay.
Oh yeah, then I'd probably just flex Andrews and keep it with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me see here. Love how Shane's in the chat. Shane, you're supposed to be having more fun than this. Okay, so I had asked you about overvalued wide receivers. Who are your undervalued running backs? Who do you like late in the drafts that you're seeing in underdog who seem to be falling that you find yourself picking up?
In best ball, or are we talking dynasty?
Let's go dynasty, but names you keep clicking on for, if you look at production reasons too.
I'll give you a rookie. I have Kendrick Miller in every league I have.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think he is super talented. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Alvin Kamara. Like the film I've watched of him, he looks just like Alvin Kamara, like when in his prime. Like super elusive, bounces off of defenders really easily. Like he's really really talented, I think. And I think it just makes sense that they would have him be their RB1 in a year or maybe midway through next season, not this coming season, but the season after that. So I think he's a guy who I want in pretty much every league. As for guys outside of that I want to buy, it's tough because like I'm not buying any running backs. Like the current running back market is just so screwed that like in a year from now we might see running backs start holding out to get contracts. Like I would not be surprised if in a year from now there are multiple running backs holding out to like make a stance versus the NFL owners. That I think could happen. So there's no running backs that I really want, to be honest. Like I want nothing to do with Saquon Barkley,
Okay.
Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry. I want nothing to do with Brees Hall after the ACL. Like guys that I like are the cheaper guys, like the Cam Akers and the James Connors and the
Yeah.
Alexander Madisons of the world. Those are the guys that I want on my team because they're super cheap to acquire and they'll probably still get me 11 points per game, which is all I really need out of them.
That's exactly how we play. And in Superflex, I don't know if you agree with this, but we love to lock down in startups 2 elite quarterbacks. That is the first thing we'll try is to trade back up into the first to get a second elite QB, because then we punch running backs for just like you're saying. Like, I mean, Pollard obviously is a hot name now, but I had Tony Pollard on so many dynasty leagues over the past few years. He's like the perfect, and like Kareem Hunt type guys, like the perfect running backs for the types of builds we like to do, or at least myself anyway. Okay, how about let's move to tight end. Who is going to score more points, more fantasy points this year? Dalton Kincaid or Michael Mayer?
Who will score more? Did you say half PPR points?
Who will score more more
PPR
points,
points.
PPR points?
Dalton Kincaid or Michael Mayer. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
if either of them are going to score 100. But I think Dalton Kincaid will probably score more because they took him in the first round, and he's kind of like their safe blanket. It seems like what he might be. They're going to run 2 tight end sets, but I don't know if he'll see the field really that much. I don't love either of them. I mean, I don't know. I'm a Luke Musgrave guy. I think he's showing out a lot in
from the
camp, and
Packers.
he's a guy that I think actually will have a role. But Dalton Kincaid will score more points.
Yeah, we played a lot of tight end premiums, and Dalton Kincaid was going pretty early in the first round, going as high as like the 107 to 110 range and stuff. And
Mhm.
it's hard to touch a tight end that early, even in a tight end premium. Like, what are the odds that that's going to hit?
Yeah.
Rather punt to 2024 back then, or yeah, do something else. But okay, let's do another trade here, and we can bounce here after an hour at 9:30. Max can do what he does, his young life. So we were talking before the stream, and he is no less than 15 years younger than I am. Um, 15
I'm
or
just gonna
16.
I'm just gonna go play Counter Strike after this, honestly.
Yeah. Is Counter Strike still a thing, man? I used to play that
Oh
way
yeah.
back in the day. Oh,
Hmm.
is Assault still one of the maps?
No, but
Assault and
I know
Dust?
that map. Dust is still a map. Yeah, Dust is still a map.
No shit.
It's Dust 2 now.
Dude, I loved that game, man. I love that. We used to go
Yeah.
to this place where it yeah, this is like I'm so old, like what you're about to hear, but we used to go to this place where you could get like a fast LAN connection. So it was, yeah, like Game Domain is what it was called. So you can get no lag and get a fast connection. But that's
That's
funny,
actually
dude.
cool. That's super
That's
cool.
funny. So Chris Fedata, 10 team. Did I already do this one? Yes. Yes, I just did that one. Nicely done. I avoided this one because it's a lot of words, but here we go. Reyes Rodriguez, 12 team Superflex PPR, start 11, no tight end premium, rebuild orphan. I have Josh Allen trying to move him for A Rich and Olave. What side has to add to make the trade? I also have Hawk, Goddard that I'm trying to move as well. P.S. Josh Allen and the two tight ends are the whole team. So that's okay.
So not a lot in there outside of that is what we're hearing.
Yeah, 12 team Superflex PPR start 11. So it is fairly deep. A rebuild orphan might take a minute. At least you have Josh Allen. So would you do that first trade? Would you trade Josh Allen for Anthony Richardson, Olave? Just a
I think,
lottery ticket, just
yeah.
F
I
it.
mean, I wouldn't trade Josh Allen for Anthony Richardson and Olave straight up. Not with that. But I would need something else on top. The thing is with like a guy like Josh Allen, he is what you hope Anthony Richardson is, right? And like
Yeah.
maybe he becomes that, but it's like, let's be real, it's probably not going to happen like that. Um, so I don't know. I wouldn't do that trade. I would ask for more on top for Josh Allen. Um, because you're an orphan and like obviously this team is horrible. That's why it got left in the first place. That's
Yeah.
not your fault, but it is your job to rebuild it. Your only play is to trade Josh Allen though. So you kind of need to start marketing him to like everyone and see what you can get for him. But I would need like Richardson, Olave, and a first for me to trade
Yeah.
Josh Allen. That's what I would need.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It is light as it stands. And he says also he has Hawk, Goddard that he's trying to move as well. Uh, yeah, Hawk and Goddard. I mean, if you're in a big rebuild, like, and it's no tight end premium, obviously sell them for proper value, but bye bye. You know, let me ask you this, Max. Have you ever heard about Warp, wins over replacement player, as it relates to dynasty and fantasy football?
I have never heard that term actually.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, so I won't get into it now because I'm not the one on our show who can speak the most intelligently about it. But it's looking at wins over replacement and how the Hawkinsons and Goddards of the world, just what they matter to you in terms of wins over replacement versus other players. It is just such a flat line essentially. So after
Yeah.
Kelsey and Andrews, it's just so flat. Then you shouldn't even be spending your money on tight ends. Yeah, warp for dummies. I did a show
Or for
last.
dummies.
I did a show last week with Adam from South Harmon talking about warp. It was
That's
that
cool. I'll
was
have to look into it.
yeah, that was a relaxing show. It was pretty funny. Okay, we're gonna do another trade here. Dean Dreamy, 12 team Superflex start 9 PPR have Garrett Wilson, Quentin Johnson, DJ Moore, Pollard, Brees, Pierce, 224 first. Trying to upgrade into another elite wide receiver one. Any ideas? Middle of the road team with who's JF1?
Justin Fields.
Okay. Justin Fields, CJ Stroud, and Kenny Pickett.
Um,
I know I have to read this too.
yeah. Yeah, I kind of get the gist of what he's trying to do. He's trying to upgrade. Like, I see that you have Garrett Wilson already. Like, because you have Garrett Wilson, like you already have the wide receiver 5. So you already have a guy who is an elite asset, and we'll probably jump to the wide receiver 4 after this year when AJ Brown kind of relaxes a little bit. Um, so if I were you, I would move DJ Moore and Brees Hall. Those are two guys I'm not very high on. You already have Pollard, and I would imagine that's Dameon Pierce. You also have 224 first, so you can get a Trevion Henderson in the draft. So I would
Yep.
move DJ Moore and Brees Hall, and that can probably get you like a CD Lamb level of player, probably.
Yeah.
If not close to it, or like an AJ Brown level of player. So I would just go do that.
What about so obviously QJ is getting a ton of hype right now. Where's your head out on him?
I love Quentin Johnson. I think he's super
Yeah.
talented. Yeah, I mean, it's concerning because like Big Ten receivers are always kind of, who, if they really played against competition or not. But he's
What
super
a landing
athletic.
spot. What a
Oh
landing
yeah.
spot. I'm
Oh
so high
yeah.
on Herbert this year too, to just
Yeah.
say fuck you to everybody and
Yeah.
be like, remember me when I was being taken 101 or 102?
No, that was crazy.
Um,
A year ago, he was being taken as the 101 or 102. It was
ahead of Mahomes.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Which it was Josh Allen, him, and then Mahomes. It was crazy. But I mean, I think you want to keep guys like Garrett Wilson and Quentin Johnson and Tony Pollard. Those are the guys you want to keep. Now, obviously, I'm low on DJ Moore and Brees Hall, but I think I would move those two for like an elite player.
So do you think Tony Pollard has, I guess, staying power beyond this year? I mean, I guess at the very least, he can be Tony Pollard elsewhere. Like the Zeke Tony Pollard elsewhere, even would be an awesome fantasy asset still, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Tony Pollard's a good running back. Like I think he's good by himself. Like I don't think he needs a Zeke to be there to be good. It's just the injury is concerning. He literally snapped his leg. Like that injury was brutal to see. Like I don't know why no one talked about how
Yeah.
ugly that injury was. That was an ugly injury. His leg was like cut into pieces. Like it was bad. Um, but with that being said, he doesn't have a lot of career carries. Like he is like 25 or 26, whatever he is, but he doesn't have a lot of workload like on it. Like he doesn't have a lot of
No,
that. So
he
we don't have
looks
to worry
so
about
good.
him. Yeah, he looks really good. He's super explosive. He can catch the rock. Like he can really do everything. So I love me some Tony Pollard. I think he's a guy who
Yeah.
like doesn't cost a lot. Like you can get Tony Pollard for like a late 24 first in a lot of leagues, which feels like really undervalued for me.
Yeah, I actually sold Tony Pollard in a league yesterday. It was a 12 team super flex start 10, I believe, but it was only start one running back. Okay, you only had to start one running back. I already had Brees Hall, Bijan, Joe Mixon, and Tony Pollard. I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I look at this first, and it's mid at worst. I swear. I mean, we can't predict things, but you look at it. I look at the quarterbacks. It was like Matthew Stafford and Russ Wilson. You could just see that team screams 103 or 104. Like the margins are so thin. One loss, and that's a big. I don't know. That's a big piece there. So what do you think about
Yeah.
that? To start one running back mid 24
Yeah.
first, if you have those running backs, would you have done that?
Oh yeah, for sure. And to start one, yeah, it's not even a question. I mean, that you already have Bijan Robinson. Like, when will
Yeah,
any other running back ever start over him for you? Like, and you
yeah.
just have like Joe Mixon for a backup if you need it. Like it's not like you really need a Tony Pollard kind of player on your team.
I almost did the stupid thing too and got greedy and was going to counter and like ask for like Jeff Wilson as a freaking throw in. And I was like,
Like,
okay, don't be stupid, man.
yeah, don't
Like
be the type of yeah, don't lose it. Don't lose a trade because you want some random shitter who doesn't matter.
exactly that you could hope to sell for a third. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Let's we are almost done here. Your dog looks like what's your dog's name?
Koa.
Kawa?
He's yeah, he's getting antsy.
Yeah, yeah. Pop him up
He
here.
wants me to
Let's
talk
see
to
him.
him. Oh, yeah, let's see if we can get him up. Come
Yeah, yeah.
here. Oh,
Oh,
he
what's
doesn't
up,
like getting picked
sir?
up.
Oh, he doesn't.
Shh. I
So
don't usually put him on my desk. He thinks he's in trouble.
oh,
Okay,
really?
relax. Okay, relax. There he goes. He's fine. And then I have
That's
another
awesome.
dog. I'll show you. Mikey's down there.
Oh, sweet.
So
Always hangs
yeah,
with you
so
while you're
yeah,
shooting.
Mikey's my old he's my old dog was my service dog as a kid. And like, he's super great.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Sorry about the barking. They're a lot. They're a little bit
Dude,
crazy.
dude, you're good. We're loose on Thursdays here when I'm on the ones and twos.
Yeah.
um But yeah, dude, we're gonna finish up here in a sec, but talk about yourself, man. We never do intros and we don't promote ourselves, but promote yourself, man. You're impressive, you're young, you do a bunch of shit. Over 300,000 followers on TikTok. And say what you
Yeah.
want about TikTok, but Max's content is quality, bro. Just look at his stuff. It is quality content. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to promote. I think like usually people who are watching any like podcasts I come on can get a just for who I am, and if they want to keep up with me, they'll keep up with me. But the only thing I think is something of value that I'd like to put out there is I do have a free draft guide. I want to give
On
away
your
like all my
chalkboard?
yeah, my chalkboard. So I give away all my stuff for free now. Like last year I was charging for a draft guide and charging for like waiver wire advice and like a subscription to the season for my weekly rankings and stuff like that through like a Patreon. Like you see that pretty common in the
Right.
fantasy space. But thankfully, like I'm fortunate enough to work with partners and be in like a financial situation where I don't need to charge for that anymore. So I like to give it away for free. I actually just updated it today with a Superflex update. So a Superflex rankings update. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. Like go check that out if you want to see that. But outside of that, my socials are just FantasyFootballAZ, and yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah, and that's your code above your head on Prize
Yep,
Picks and Underdog and
underdog.
all.
Yep.
And
That is my
so
code.
talk to me about a chalkboard though. Tell people how to get to your chalkboard. I have no familiarity with that.
Yeah, it's essentially it's an app on your phone. So like it's like Discord if you guys have used Discord.
Yeah.
It's a lot like that where like you have like a almost like a group chat where like people are in their different text channels for different things. Like there I could check it right now and I would bet any amount of money that somebody in my chalkboard has hosted a mock draft within the last 15 minutes. They host there's 3,000 people in there, more maybe 4,000 now. I don't even
That's
know, but
awesome.
there's a lot of people in there. They host mock drafts all day. There's like a bunch of text channels, but to actually get in it, it's super simple. You just go to one of my pages and you'll see my website linked in one of my pages, and it's the first link on my website. When you sign up through
Yeah.
that, they'll send you a text message to actually download the app. That tells them that you came through me because they're obviously going to pay me if you join. That's how I can get my draft
Yeah.
guide for free, right? By you guys signing up. So
Sure.
if that doesn't work, then it's really simple. You just download the app on the App Store, and then what you search for is fantasy football help, and then you'll see me.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, I'll have to check out Chalkboard. Yeah, it's cool when you have discords and all that are completely self-sufficient, you know,
Yeah.
where if you didn't go in there for a week, it wouldn't skip a beat.
Oh
There's
yeah.
just it's
Yeah.
all user generated. I've got an app, or we have an app, I guess, called Dynasty Trades in 5. It was rebranded to Dynasty Trades in 5, and they chat in there. I rarely go in there. It's bad. Like I should have no time
Yeah.
though, but they fucking hold it
Yeah.
down. So
Yeah, that's kind of how my chalkboard is. Like I haven't sent a message in there probably since my last live stream, which was like the 3rd or 4th of this month. And like
yeah,
everything's like they still chat. They have their own community in there. Like people make friends in there, and there's a looking for leagues area if you want to find somebody to like
yeah.
make a league with. Like there's it's a cool, it's like its own little community, which is super sweet, I think. I mean, that's kind of what life is all about, right? Like making connections with others, right?
Exactly, exactly. And that's what we're going to be doing at the expo. If you're in the crowd and you're going to the expo, make sure you come and say what's up. You will see me. I'll be wearing a Dynasty Trades in 5 shirt. I'm awfully tall and hard to miss. My I found out early on in life that I could not be a ninja, so I was bummed out. Um yeah, look, Mr. Padilla puts this up here. What the hell, Clay? Is this the first time I'm hearing you guys have an app? Yeah, I don't promote my shit. I'm gonna have to so I can be like Max and be financially in a situation where I can give out free draft guides and shit. But yes, Mr. Padilla, Dynasty Trades in 5 on iPhone and Android. It's a custom Discord I built. Okay.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So dude, we're done, man. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you jumping on. I've been watching you
Yeah.
for a while. I stalked you for a couple months, finally got you. So yeah, hopefully you guys in the crowd enjoyed yourselves. And we will see you what next? Oh, no, we'll see you live. We're going to be recording live from the expo on Sunday and no Tuesday live stream. All right. Gonna end the
Yeah.
broadcast. We'll see you later. Thanks.